in French.
Yeah, not in French actually this week, sadly.
Latin.
Yeah, not quite that old. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Digital Download, or as Bertrand would say, good afternoon, good morning, and good day, wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download, the longest-running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live, now globally syndicated on TuneIn Radio through IBGR, the world's #1 business talk, news, and strategy radio network. It sounds a lot better when he does it, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
It does actually, yeah.
Thank you for your support.
I feel like he said it like so many times now. It just like rolls off.
It's like a second language to him, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the question that we're going to try to debate and discuss today is 2026 the year of AI for your business? Or is it the year that we realize what AI can't do as well as what it can do? So we're kind of at that tipping point, aren't we? We've got all of these AI tools available to us, and everybody can generate some expert content in a matter of seconds. Expertise, or true expertise, is facing a crisis of confidence. Everybody doubts the stuff that they read. And if everybody sounds the same, who should you trust? So today, relationships are needed more than ever before. But before we get into the meat of that, let's go round and introduce ourselves. Ladies first, Tracy.
Oh, well, thank you, Adam. I am Tracy Borreson, founder of TLB Coaching and Events, which I just realized doesn't fit on my title here. Coaching and Eve.
And Eve.
I am all about being authentic. So whether we're talking about marketing, sales, how do we go about and create this meaningful trust that we talk about? Take away all this layer of doing and then the layer of automated doing and get back to how do we as an individual build trust with other humans. And so I'm really excited to participate in the conversation today.
Thank you. Richard.
Afternoon, Richard Jones from Curate, a DLA Ignite partner. All I'll say is a fool with a tool is still a fool, and that's kind of where I see AI at the moment.
Yeah, very witty, but I suspect in many cases accurate summation of the situation. Tim.
Yes, welcome. My name is Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. Welcome, everybody. I'm famous for writing the book Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Change Makers. And I'm really looking forward to the session today.
And I'm Adam Gray. I'm Tim's business partner and co-founder of DLA Ignite. And I find myself chairing and clicking the buttons today, which makes a change from the normal slickness of Bertrand. So AI, you pointed out the other day, Tim, that ChatGPT is now 3 years old, or just over 3 years old. And kind of everybody's got their chosen AI tool. And every time you're scrolling your feed on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, there's a new AI tool that's come out, whether it be DeepSeek or a new one that I found the other day, the name of which I can't remember. So AI has kind of become ubiquitous. And I think that it offers people that are maybe disempowered and don't feel that they're able to write content, the ability to create content, which is great. Or is it?
I think that we're in this sort of situation where sometimes from an AI perspective, we can sit in a bit of an echo chamber, especially on LinkedIn. So two things that I think are coming out, which is, so the Consumer Electronics event, CES, has been running the last week. And someone made a comment that, is it a consumer electronics event or is it an AI event? Because everybody now is saying that there's AI. But the opposite of that is that Dell have just announced that they're pivoting away from AI marketing because nobody is buying their AI PC. So I think sometimes it's a bit like when we were during COVID, when we were talking about everybody's working from home. Well, everybody isn't working from home because many jobs don't allow you to work from home. I had my bins emptied today and they can't do that from working from home. They have to come out to my home to basically empty my bins. So I think sometimes we assume things. We have that bias, which is we think that because we think it, everybody else thinks it is. So I think we have to be quite careful when we talk about AI. And my other thing is that my nephew is marrying a very nice person in the summer, and she's the subject matter expert for AI in her organization. And I said, oh, it must be really great. She said, no, I hate it. I said, why is that? Because no one's interested. Because everyone says that basically AI is going to take my job. Why would I get involved in AI if it's going to take my job? Because all I'll do is just use it, and then you'll sack me. So I think we have to be quite careful in the. I know when we go to LinkedIn and we say that AI, everybody says AI is great. We just need to be really careful about how we assume that everybody thinks that we think the same as them. Anyway, sorry, Tracy.
Oh, I mean, I have all the things to say all the time, so I will wait my turn. But I think the interesting thing, like when you think about like people who work in hospitals, people who come to pick up the bins, right? Like there are even like people who stock the grocery store shelves, right? Like these are people who I don't think are worried that AI is going to take their job. Right. And so I think there's also an opportunity to like roll that back and use it as a mirror to look at our fear. Oh, hey, Mary France. It's great to see you in the chat. To roll that back and look at like, what are we doing as a human that we're so concerned can be replaced by AI? Because I think it's showing us that there's a human confidence pandemic, right? We've become so dependent on technology that we don't know how to do stuff anymore. And then we're like, oh no, what happens when we have to do stuff? We don't know how to do it anymore. So instead of figuring out how to do stuff again, like have relationships, like we're going to talk about in this show, we just sit in that fear of, I don't want to look at this because it's going to take my job. But it can't. In marketing, this has been like a big conversation for a while because AI has been being used to generate content for 2 years now. I heard a thing earlier this week that the first week of January 2026 was the first time more content was created by AI than it was created by humans. Yep. And the point, if people were really looking at this, the point would be either we don't care that much about our content, so something can just generate it for us, or like we didn't like generating content as the human behind it, right? So now I want a machine to do it because I didn't like it in the first place. But there are people who like it, and the people who like it, when they do it, you can tell that they like it, and it creates connection and opportunities and possibilities and all of that.
Hold on just a sec. Hold on just a sec. Hi, Greg. Is there a degree of interchange here? Are you watching and responding to comments and taking questions? To answer that with your own first comment, the answer to both questions is yes. Yes.
And Greg, you will find us on YouTube as well.
Yeah, all over the place, actually.
We're everywhere. But anyway, send your questions.
I think that's a really interesting point. So not that we've crossed this kind of line in the sand where more content has been created by AI than by people, but the fact, why is that the case? And it could be that we don't enjoy creating content, but we know from our engagement with clients and people that we work with in a training and educational capacity, that even people that are expert at what they do often don't believe that they're expert at what they do. And everybody is capable of communicating, whether that be through talking or through writing. But often they don't feel that they can. They feel that it's somebody else's job, or I haven't been trained in writing stuff, or I'm not a writer, or whatever it may be.
Or it might be, we'll just throw something out on social media because that's what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm being told to do as well.
Yeah, but because it's not part of a plan. So there's, well, just write something and post it on social. That's great, but what are you trying to achieve, and how are you going to get that outcome from it? But I think this whole idea that there's now more AI generated stuff than there is human generated stuff. This is potentially a big problem, isn't it? Because we're all trying to break through the noise and have our content read in order that we.
I don't think it is. I think it's a great opportunity.
Well, it's a great opportunity for people that don't go down that road, that actually produce the content themselves. Yeah.
But it's a bit like when the synthesizer was introduced in the 1980s. Sorry, Tracy.
I know what a synthesizer is, you guys.
Yeah. And well, the thing is,
I'm actually a very big fan of 80s music.
Yeah. So when it was introduced, it was not seen as being, you're not a musician. And there was a whole bunch of things that were implemented to try and stop it being introduced. The Musicians Union here in the UK tried to stop things because of the fact that what they wanted to do was that they thought that the synthesizer was going to take away all of the jobs in the orchestras and stuff like that. The number of orchestras has reduced, yes, because it's not needed. But the synthesizer, as you know, is now a normal thing that's used. So why? But people still play the violin and the guitar. So and if people want to put out crappy content, that's a great opportunity for everybody that understands the benefit of putting out great content. Surely,
to my
that's
point
a point of differentiation.
To my point about the fool with the tool, it's very much that. You can still make really awful music using a synthesizer. The fact that it's there, you've still got to have talent to be able to get the most out of it. And I think that's the issue is when people just start using it to pump out stuff for the sake of pumping stuff out. If the quality is poor, then that just adds more noise and helps nobody. So I think it's going to...
Well, I think, like, to your point, Richard, you can equally make bad music with piano or a violin. Right? Like, yeah. I think most of us have heard a 6-year-old practice the violin. Like, doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I mean, you could, and I think that's the thing. It's something there that I think if you're good at something, if you're knowledgeable, it can definitely, sort of raise your game. It can, deliver a better message, a more articulate message. But if you're not good, I think it'll just kind of sort of it'll sink to the bottom. It'll get lost.
There's a repeating pattern here, isn't there? Which is the one of human nature and humans looking for the easy option. So in the days of the .com boom and bust, people had crappy business ideas and they built a website and they thought, I'm going to get rich because I've now gone online and that will save that. And then we had email marketing and marketing automation platforms that delivered vast amounts of crappy, spammy emails to people, to which people didn't respond. And now we've got AI, which enables you to write loads and loads of crappy content, which you can then push out into the marketplace. And it isn't going to fundamentally solve the problem. Now, that isn't to say that AI doesn't have a place, because as a brainstorming partner, as somebody to check things, as somebody do some research, as long as you validate the research and all of that stuff, it's incredibly powerful. But it isn't, there's no such thing as a free lunch, is there? And it's like, I remember somebody saying when they were talking about, okay, write a blog about whatever, typing that into ChatGPT or other brands available, and saying, write a blog about this, and it writes a blog, and you look at it and you go, oh, that'll do, and you post that blog. But the first question you should be asking is, tell me everything you know about me, to your instance of ChatGPT. And if ChatGPT comes back and says, I don't know anything about you, I have no idea who you are, well, actually, probably that's not a good starting point to write content that is supposed to be you.
Interesting. I have this take on AI whereby if I know a topic particularly well and I maybe ask a question of AI, I'm quite often disappointed with what it comes back with. But if I don't know much about a subject and I ask it a question, I quite often think, yeah, that sounds pretty plausible, and I'll go with it. And I think that kind of sort of sums it up in a way. I think if you have a deep level of expertise, you will ask more challenging questions, which will give you a better insight as to whether or not it's doing a good job for you.
Well, and I think there's also a piece here of letting it help you reveal what is actually important to you. Because for example, I was doing a research piece the other day and I was using ChatGPT as a partner, and what it was giving me was crap. And so like the output and the meaning behind the creation of this is very important to me. And therefore I am not going to use just anything, right? I'm going to do my due diligence. I actually ended up going to a book to get information out of that. Which, I mean, I grew up in the school days of go to the encyclopedia, right? So I still have a practice of that. But I think it's an opportunity for us to say like, oh, if I'm just going to put, first of all, someone else's prompt into ChatGPT and take exactly what it gives me and post it on my company profile, how much do you care about that activity? If you're being honest with yourself, you don't care about that activity. So again, like, and likely that activity has no relationship to any kind of results that you see, right? You're just creating content because someone told you to create content. Now, on that point, the more content that gets created in that matter, the more noise there is, the more garbage there is, which goes back to Tim's point at the beginning of the conversation, which is now we can't depend on content to create the trust factor. We can use content to support the trust factor, but we cannot use content to like, it's not a relationship starter anymore, which it might have been 10 years ago. So if it's not a relationship starter, what is its role? And if it's not a relationship starter, what's the relationship starter that you're using as part of your process?
I think that's the key point, isn't it? It's about relationship. And you cannot expect the content that you produce, like with your email marketing, you cannot expect it to take you from first date to the altar in one step. But understanding what the customer and trust acquisition process looks like and where you can do bits of AI in that, which enables you to scale and use your time more effectively, and where you can't. AI cannot go to a meeting. AI cannot present. AI cannot, as Tim would say, let the client look into the whites of your eyes and determine whether or not you are somebody that they trust and want to do business with. And I think that part of the challenge here is we are expecting, like with so many innovations that we've had over the years, we're expecting this tool to deliver an oven-ready product to us. I'm going to switch it on and all of a sudden the phone is going to start ringing. And actually that isn't the way that it works, particularly not if you're selling something which is complex and strategic. So if AI can't build trust, what should we be doing to build trust? And is trust still important in the modern world?
Well, it concerned me actually, Tracy, what you said when you said that content no longer builds trust.
It's not the initiator of a desire to build trust. So did I say that? I might have said it a little bit differently, but I think it can nurture. We talked about this in a few episodes ago,
yeah, we did.
Right? Where like there's me just getting your email once a month doesn't
for everybody, what we talked about a number of episodes ago was that when people describe the word nurture, what that was we think that somebody's interested. So what we do is we take their email and we throw it into an email list and just keep spamming them with emails. That actually isn't nurture. The only way that you can nurture is through having a relationship.
You can nurture a relationship. You can't nurture a cold lead.
Yeah.
And so content is very good at nurturing a relationship, but that means there's a relationship of some degree. And a level of interest that has been sparked.
But if we take this show as a piece of content and we take the people that are making comments, so Maria Fransamba, who's made a great comment down there, she has a relationship with you, whereas I think that Greg Waters has found us through content.
Greg, let us know.
So I think that, I still think that content is a great way of sparking the conversation and building a relationship and building trust. And I think that you do that by having outstanding content that people want to read.
So let's talk about that, because I think if you go out to the market and you Google or you put into your ChatGPT, what is outstanding content and how do I create it? You're going to get a whole bunch of templates and someone else's answer that is telling you what is great content, what is outstanding content. So Tim, what would you say are some of the important things to consider when you're going to look at what you're creating? So any one person could take this and look at what they're creating and say, is that outstanding? Yay or nay?
Well, I think, as we know with content craft, what people think is a good blog and what you think is a good blog are different things. But I do think that, why do 3,000 people on a Sunday basically subscribe to my newsletter that I put out when I write blogs about me traveling?
Because
why?
they like you.
Why?
Because they're bored.
No.
That one sounds like a bored one.
If they're bored, then that's great. There's 3,000 people that are not bored now, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think that the key thing here is, and I think that we're all approaching the problem from different directions with this conversation. So there's an awful lot of content out there, and our content has to be better than other people's content. And maybe AI as a sparring partner or a facilitator or an idea generation tool may help us to create content that is better than it otherwise might be. The challenge is that there's a huge amount of content available, and I haven't got enough time to read all of the content that's out there. So I think that there's the idea that you need to do something in order to get on somebody's radar. So Tim and I were doing some work on an onboarding process for a partner of ours, and this partner had used emails in the onboarding process. So at this point, we're going to send an email to this person or these people, and at this point, we're going to send an email to these people, and we're going to send 2 more emails at this point. And the problem with that is that until I've actually met you or had some conversation with you or some interaction with you, they're just cold emails. And the problem with the content is, Tim's blogs on travel are fantastic, but I only know they're fantastic when I've read them, and I'm not going to read them because I have no idea who he is. And actually, it's the relationship bit that makes me want to invest the time in reading the person's blog or the company's blog. So a lot of these things are quite symbiotic.
And I take Andrew's challenge and say, are people reading them, even though they're signed up? And the answer, and I agree with you, Andrew, they might not be, but it does mean that every Sunday I'm in their inbox and I'm going, hello.
Yeah, and does that mean that every one of the 3,000 people reads every one of the things? Of course not. But does it mean that even if by the time they've noticed you and they've actively signed up for your emails, so by the time they've noticed you, you're there, as you said, waving at those people from their inbox, and even if they choose not to read this week's email, they are reminded of you, so you don't slip further and further from their consciousness. And I think that's the issue here, isn't it, with content, is that if you read my content religiously, then clearly that's going to move you to my way of thinking about things. But even if you just notice my content and notice me, that means that I'm less likely to be forgotten. And we got some great comments.
So Greg Waters basically found me through my headline.
Right.
Clearly, my headline works. Clearly, what we teach people works. Thanks, Greg. And he also makes a really good point as well, which is that talking about me. Which is that when my blog arrives on a Sunday, it's Sunday, and it's travel based, which means it's not, hey, here's my product, buy my product, aren't we great? And because of that, I haven't pissed anyone off. That's his words, not mine.
Yeah, so this is interesting. We need to remember that reading has declined dramatically. Only 28% of visitors self-identified as readers in 2025, down from 56% in 2015. And I think that's really important. However,
it's a good point, Peter.
Yeah, it's a really good point. But I think that only part of this is around reading the content. So, I read your blog and I enjoy what happens. And the next one that comes through, I don't read at all. I just notice. And the next one that comes through, I don't even notice. And the one after that, I haven't got time to read, but I skim it and I go, oh, that's interesting. There's a nice picture of Tim and Easter Island or whatever. And that builds familiarity over time. And I think that one of the things that we've always said about sales is that it's an incremental thing. We're trying to gain a little bit of competitive advantage. So if Tim is somebody that I've read his blog, I've seen that he went to Easter Island, and I go, that's really interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. That's better than Richard, who I don't know where he's been. And therefore, actually, we haven't got that thing in common, or that point of interest. And always, it's the little things that make the big difference in the long run, isn't it?
You're trying to capture people's time, which is a valuable commodity. And if what you've got doesn't pique their interest, you're not going to capture any of their time. You know, we haven't got time to sit there and read everything that comes up. So you have to earn the right to have your content read.
That's the point.
That's a really good point, Richard.
Earn the right to have it read. And I think that, you know, so often when Tim and I are talking to a prospect, and they talk about how, well, we create this content and we push it out to the marketplace and it creates noise in the background about our brand. And we just go, well, show me, prove how it'd be nice if it were the case, but prove how that's true. Because as we know, on a social network, and maybe outside of social networks, if you get an impression of a piece of content, it means that more than one pixel has loaded for more than 1/60th of a second. That's not really it's not like I've been poring over your post for half an hour, reading it and rereading parts of it. I probably haven't even noticed it at all. So part of this is about breaking through that human element, isn't it? You know, as you're scrolling through your content, I see something and I go, oh, Tracy's blogs, I always enjoy reading those, therefore I'm going to read this one.
Adam and I did a workshop for a bunch of people just before Christmas, and there was a guy on it, and I had a call with him, Peter Button. I'm going to mention his name. I'm sure he won't mind. And he's been putting content out all year, and we pointed out, if you put personal content, it will get a far better response because it's a social network. Rubbish. So he put out a piece because he plays the viola.
He does
in an orchestra.
Yeah.
It's something that he's just learned how to do. It's something that I think he started learning when he was 60 or something. Of course, there's a picture of him with his viola just going into play in the orchestra in the carol concert or something like that. And of course, that piece of content has just gone ballistic.
His best performing piece of content.
Yeah. You know, everything else about here's me with my product and isn't it great? Got no engagement at all because nobody's interested. But him playing the viola, you know, it does. And he couldn't. You can get AI to write it, but in a way the emotion of it is one of a human emotion, because we go, well done, Peter, isn't it fantastic that you learned to play the viola? That's what we're interested in. We're interested in human things. As I say, you could get AI to write it, but the photo was clearly him standing with his viola.
I think the authenticity shines through in a situation like that. You know, you start to, it's amazing if you post something from the heart. You know, I think people get it, and they that's what attracts them. And if it looks generic, if it looks like it hasn't had a huge amount of thought put into it, then it just becomes background noise. You know, the wallpaper that.
But I haven't got time to write authentic content.
Well, I haven't got time to read it. So,
right.
No one has time for anything.
That's the bullseye. That's the bullseye. I think somebody came up with a lovely quote about this. They said, "Why should I be bothered to read a piece of content that you couldn't be bothered to write?" And I thought that it's absolutely the key point here. And I think that there is this belief, isn't there, that me using AI to write mediocre content is better than nothing. And actually, there's a question for you. Is me publishing mediocre content that's generated by AI better than me doing nothing?
That's a really good question. I'm interested in what Greg and Peter and Ian and
Leif
and maybe even Maria France basically says about, is it, so just going to repeat the question, is it better to create no content or mediocre content?
I think it depends on what we mean by mediocre. Yeah, so I'll use this example. When I was in corporate, we had to have a post on social media every day, right? And so there were days where like the stuff that was on there, I would even remember once, so a like SaaS-based tech company, and the VP of operations had written an article about like space management, which was not the arena that we sold products and services in. And it took her X amount of hours to write this, and then it like went on the blog and nobody read it, or if they read it, then they wouldn't know what we do, right? And you're like, and that's a human doing that. So if you're going to create content like that, then yeah, you might as well have AI doing it, because you're saving the AI, or like you're saving the human hours. But I think it's important to look at like why are we talking about this? Okay. So maybe we get AI to help us to draft the thing, right? But if we don't know why we're talking about that, then I think I would rather say just don't.
Well, I think that the danger, isn't it, with creating mediocre content, is that you publish a mediocre blog and I read it and I go, because I've met you or whatever, and I read your mediocre blog and I go, well, that was a waste of time. And then the next day or the next week, you publish another mediocre blog and I read the mediocre blog and I go, well, that was also a waste of time. Actually, I'm not going to come back for a third edition of this because I've read it twice and it's told me that I don't need to bother reading this stuff because it's mediocre. So I think that there's this is a continuum, isn't it? We got an infinite amount of crap content at one end and we got zero amount of perfect content at the other. And actually, we want to be somewhere between these two. But I think you once said, Tracy, about how the reason that the purpose of your personal brand and the content you share is to let people get to know you better, so that they can decide whether or not they want to have some sort of commercial relationship with you. And you can't send a bot to be you at a party, and this is about meeting and greeting people, isn't it? So how do we use AI in a smart way?
Before we go there, I want to address Peter's last comment there, but Greg has some good comments too. You guys are blowing up the chat and it's awesome.
Well,
yeah,
I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that, because how we use content on social networks is we write a piece of content, we publish a piece of content, and then we use the engagement that we get on that content to start conversations with people. So Andrew has just dropped a comment on a post that I did this morning, and that now gives me a reason to reach out to him to say, thanks for this, Andrew, let's have a chat.
But you had to give him enough to want to comment on it in a meaningful way.
Yeah, and this is also true. Internet users will consume far more when it's summarized. And I guess that we all do that. But isn't this teaching us that one of the things we need to do is we need to write punchy, snackable pieces of content that are already summarized so you can be bothered to read them? Because my USP is me and yours is you. So that's what we need to be showcasing to people.
I just also want to not forget about the side of the puzzle of the creation, because there are people who write. So like I write my blog to explore ideas. That I use it as part of my learning process to explore ideas. And then I show it to the people because I'm like, hey, why not? And every week Tim is like, this is so interesting because it's the way my brain processes things, which is not the way other people's brains process things. But it is not short and punchy. It's exploratory. But we also have to remember that there are people who want exploratory. It may not be everybody, and it may not be the bots, right? But I will tell you guys right now, I don't write for the bots. Yep, bots are probably going to.
But there are people that do write for the bots.
Well, this comes back to like you're knowing your why, right? Like, why are you writing this? Are you writing this for the bots so you rank high in a chat search? Then good. If you develop your own ideas, then outsourcing that to AI doesn't help you anymore. And now you don't have a source of developing your own ideas. And how does that empower you from a human confidence point of view?
This is a really interesting comment from Bex. Every post I write, I care about. Others may say it's mediocre. That's okay, their opinion. However, you need to stand by what you write rather than worry about likes. And bits of that are true. You should absolutely care about every post you write, and not everybody will share your opinion. However, from a commercial perspective, likes are really important. And they're not important from a vanity perspective, not like my post is better than yours because my post got 1,000 likes and yours only got 500. That's not the point here. But the point is that on any social network, if your post is viewed by 10,000 people, you don't know who the 10,000 people are. So you've outsourced the next action to them. If they engage with your content, a like, a comment, a share, whatever it may be, then you know exactly who they are. And you now have somebody that you can target with a friendly message saying, thank you for engaging with my post. I looked at your profile. You look really cool. I think we should have a chat. And part of, I think, the hangover from how marketing used to be is that I'm going to put my content, my brand in front of 1 million people, and some of them will phone me up. The reality is that actually that's seldom the way things work these days. Most campaigns, they may raise visibility or even awareness, but they don't get the phone ringing because that isn't how we buy. You know, all of the research that came out just before Christmas from 6 Sense said that people, by the time they reach out to you, i.e. that phone call, they've already, 96% of the time, they've already made the decision about who they want to buy from. So it's too late at that point.
There's so much good stuff happening in the chat.
There is. I mean, this is remarkable. We could write a book on this, couldn't we?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, Greg said
I'd agree
we
with
take
Greg.
a transcript and turn it into an article. I think
Yeah, we could write a blog with it.
read
Yeah,
that article after.
it's interesting. It's interesting, and I think it's probably just me, which is that I agree with Greg that I hadn't heard of TLDR until AI basically started. But whenever I see a blog with TLDR, I don't read the TLDR. Because if I want to read the blog, I want to read the blog. I'm not interested in the summary. Now, I know that's not the way that people who are probably younger than me think. But I'm just putting it out there that, maybe it's just that me that I'm different from everybody else. But I'm not a TLDR person.
But there's people who are and there's people who aren't,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's the point.
Isn't that a great comment? The fact that you don't write for the bots is possibly the reason, and quite likely that the bots will like your content.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, because they're getting smarter all the time. This is really interesting, a comment about the human element of this. And I'm sorry, I can't see who you are, LinkedIn user. Trust isn't built with clever prompts. It's built with messy moments, real emotions, and actually following through. Yes, AI smooths things out, but humans make it real. And that's really interesting. When Tim and I started the company, we never proofread.
Years ago.
Yeah, we never proofread any of the blogs that we posted on the website. And people would go, "Your blog is loaded with errors and typos," and we used to joke that we crowdsource our proofreading. Put it out there, and then 100 people tell you've done it wrong. But I think most importantly is that those people were then waving at us. Even if they were waving at us to say, you've used the wrong word here, or you've misspelt this word. And that then, again, like with the likes and the comments you get on your posts, that gave us a reason to reach out to that person and say, thank you for doing my proofing for me. Do you want to have a chat? And I think what's really interesting is that kind of human element, the things that it's actually not quite right, well, this didn't go quite according to plan, or you misinterpreted that, is absolutely the basis for the conversation, isn't it?
I totally agree with you.
I had someone comment on a post of mine once. There are 3 spelling errors in here. I am not going to tell you where they are, but once you fix them, you can delete this comment. And I was the fact that, I take that to mean, you care enough about me that you would like me to present myself without spelling errors, because if you didn't care enough to, write the post or, write the comment, you would just scroll by and be like, this person can't spell anything. And I find, I have that problem when I create content on my phone more often, because it auto corrects stuff that is wrong all the time. But, that's kind of fun. Someone gave me, Greg said forever ago in the chat about like 7 minutes, right? Like I might give you 7 minutes. If you get more than that, it's because you earned it, right?
Yeah.
Like, thank you for giving me your 7 minutes. And hopefully by me responding to you being like, thank you for that, because no one else did that. And I really appreciate it, that earns me another 5. I don't know. Another week.
But that's about the always be adding value. Some years ago now, Tim and I did some work with an offshoot from a very large Australian telco. So everyone knows who that is, but we won't talk about who they are. And the person that was our sponsor and champion internally referred to content needing to be snackable. We need to teach people how to write for this very reason. You know, it's great that you've written a 10,000 word white paper, but actually nobody is going to read that. They will download it and they will put it in that folder that says stuff to read when I've got nothing better to do, but you've always got something better to do. And the challenge with this constant fire hose of content that's coming at us is if you don't read my thing now, you will never be able to find it again. So therefore, we have to make this stuff small enough and compact enough and punchy enough that people, A, read it when it's presented to them, B, don't get bored halfway through, and C, believe that they've instantly got some value from that. Now, that value may be that it's planted a seed of something, or it's given them maybe an answer or the hint of an answer, and they may then choose to say, okay, Tim, you said I need to post every day. Why do I need to do that? In which case we're having a conversation and I can drill down into that should I want to. But I think that so often people think that they have to do that, you know, first date to altar in a single bound. You know, I'm going to tell you everything I know here. I know 100 things. I'm going to make sure you hear them all. And actually 100 things that I need to tell you, well, that's 100 posts rather than one post with 100 things in.
Andrew makes a comment about when DLA started. In fact, Andrew, it used to be 2 tins and a piece of string. Used to...
That long ago.
Is there such a thing as ultra processed content? So the sort of stuff that you just can't stop consuming, that you know is bad for you, but you still keep
crisps
reading it.
Well, I do think that, I mean, if you think about how people behave, and it started with TikTok, but now it's on most of the social networks, is this doom scrolling of short reels, exactly because it's snackable stuff, you know. And I think that we have learned as a species, we have learned that you need to get your attention captured and you need to get the point of watching that piece of content or reading that piece of content. You need to get it quickly. I mean, I saw a fascinating stat a while ago about YouTube. And when you log into YouTube, you have access to pretty much every piece of music that's ever been recorded. So you go to YouTube, you can search for any piece of music that's ever been recorded, and most people don't actually listen to the whole track that they've just gone to. So the entirety of human musical existence on a single platform, you can go to it, and this is the single track that you want to listen to at this very moment, and you can't be bothered to invest 3 minutes in it.
Too long.
Yeah, exactly. So this shows, and I don't think it's about attention span, because that suggests that people are getting stupider, and I don't believe that's the case. But I think it's about the expectation of people. The expectation is that now I'm going to log in, I'm going to give you 30 seconds of my time. What are you going to give me in reverse? And it's not going to be your sales pitch, because frankly, I don't care. I want to see some, I want to feel better, learn something, have a nugget that I can use somewhere else from that interaction that I've had with you.
And again, I think it's interesting then to say, like, so if I'm out in the market to help people, to create value, to solve problems, how do I do that in 120 characters? Can I do that? Because if you're asking that question, there's actually ways you can do that. This is like what I do with my clients. How do you go help people with a piece of content, knowing that it's like I like what Greg said earlier about the surfing, right? Like the waves, they just go, right? So we need enough waves to surf, but like any individual wave is just a wave.
So I want to say something about Tracy, which is I always read Tracy's blogs.
Thanks, Tim.
And I will always make time for Tracy's blogs. It will be if there's she's written a blog, I don't right 5 minutes. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read Tracy's blogs. That is what I would see as the pinnacle of content, which is that somebody trusts the person, and I know that whenever I read Tracy's blogs, when I walk away with that from that, I will always know something I don't know already.
It's like columnists in newspapers, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
You'll always find those go-to columnists who, whatever it is they write, that they're going to sort of pique your interest. Whatever take they've got on whatever's going on, it generally hits the mark for you. And that's kind of what you've got to think about. You've got to be a bit like a columnist, really, which people keep coming back to.
Well, and also the point here is, like, I appreciate that about Tim, and I have other people who feel that way about my content too, but it's not everybody. Like, everybody's not interested in like learning a new perspective about marketing. And if you're not interested in learning a new perspective about marketing, then you're probably not going to be interested in my blog, because that's what my blog is about. But for people who are stuck in a like repetitive echo chamber of all this marketing stuff that's not working for them, then it can be very helpful. And that is who I write it for. And again, like, I know why I write it. I feel good writing it. So like, if you want to create content, but you don't feel good doing that, right? Like Greg shared earlier, his like, he goes to a thing and he participates in the conversation, and he takes a transcript, and then the AI goes and like writes an article. Like, when you feel good about your process of how that is created, then I think most of us, like, I use AI to ask it questions when I'm creating a thing. I will never use what it wrote, because I like to write it. I like to write it and read it back and be like, that was Tracy that created that. That's something I like.
You also said something at the last session that we ran just before Christmas, Tracy, which was about AI created photos. And your belief that if we stand and we take a photo, there's actually a human emotion attached to it. Whereas with an AI created photo, there isn't that human connection. And I've been looking at, I saw a prompt recently about how to take your mug shot and make it better and stuff like that. And I looked at it and I thought, actually, no, it's not better. Oh, it's got a different background, and I'm a little less pasty and stuff. I might look a little bit younger, but
You've got long hair.
Does it really have emotion? No, that was the wig I was wearing. Does it really have an emotional connection? I don't think it does.
No.
Well,
I don't think anyone's picked up on this yet.
It has no emotional connection to you.
Yeah.
And this is the important thing, because again, I'm not saying to not use AI, but when you use AI to create a thing that you have an emotional connection with, then good. Go to town. But if you are generating 700 AI images of yourself because you have really bad self-esteem and you are afraid to put a picture of your actual self out on the internet, then this is not solving a problem, right? This is it's not helping you. It is disenabling you.
So Greg, if that was a bit of English, sorry, a mug shot isn't a shot of a mug. A mug shot is a picture of me. My mug is
they take when you've been arrested.
Yeah,
that's what I think of.
Yeah,
like if you're in jail with the little sign.
Yeah,
yeah, and I think it's so. I guess that the key output from this is that AI has a role to play, or can have a role to play. It can help us come up with ideas. It can help us bounce ideas off things. It can do some research for us. It can help identify target markets and issues that they might have. So it's a very valuable tool, but we shouldn't outsource ourselves to that, because as we've always said, you are your only USP. And when you take that out of the equation, I guess you just look like everybody else, don't you?
And I think that's the biggest risk I see, is that just like Richard was talking about, whether not a fool, but like the output reflects the input. So if your input is that like, I need to create content because I've been told to create content, but I don't have enough content, like I don't have enough confidence into myself to create my own content, or I think my writing's bad, or blah, 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 blah. And I go and I put some prompts into ChatGPT to develop an email or an article about a topic, then like, it's fine that I would put that into the mediocre content category. But if then someone's going to consume that content and they can't learn anything about you, it's so generic to the point that there's nothing you that is in it, then what is that building? It's not building you. It's not building your reputation. It's not building your personal brand. It's not building trust. It's just out there to be out there.
So this is a great comment, and I can do a funny here. Never trust people who don't have something in their lives that they love beyond all reason. And I think for Greg, we can safely say that's photos of himself, having produced 17,000 of them. So there is that. Obviously, joking. But as we're coming to kind of the end of the show, first of all, thank you to everybody that has been in the comments, because it's been an absolutely fantastic series of comments and questions and interaction from everyone. So Andrew, Peter, Leaf, Greg, Chris, Barry France, and LinkedIn user, thank you all very much indeed, because this has been fantastic. But Mary France says, I feel like people focus too much on writing genuine posts and get mad when it doesn't land and get much likes. I believe we need to remind ourselves of the importance of our physical presence and our voice. Sharing content from the stage, on podcasts, networking events, and AI will never replace our presence. Absolutely. And I think that, you know, there's the hierarchy of stuff in terms of how close you feel to somebody, you know, in a relationship and a commercial perspective. You know, a messaging exchange is great, but it's not as good as a phone call. I'm not talking about a cold call. I'm talking about a phone call with somebody, and a phone call is not as good as a face-to-face meeting. So ultimately, you know, absolutely, you know, it's a win if you can get in front of somebody.
You know what's so funny is I feel like this episode has been like so much of us reading the comments, because there's like so many good comments. Yeah. And they're like, they're not like one sentence that you can just like scan and read, but they're like good stuff.
No, we should be using AI to summarize some of these, shouldn't we?
Right?
Just to say to the person that there's comments coming up that say LinkedIn user, the reason why it's doing that is you have to give LinkedIn permission to share your details to external third-party systems, which is the reason why Restream can't pick up your name.
That is brilliant. Even though, so Peter's company markets very technical things, I still demand that we have an opinion and a perspective, why we think that and why you should, backed by a credible argument. Absolutely, absolutely, because this is about you as an individual. My advice to you is that you do this. Our advice to you is that you do this. That's infinitely more powerful than just a bland generic thing.
And I think from just to throw in a marketing perspective on that really quickly, is that when you show up and you say a thing like why we think this, right? I think this and here's why. The people who also think that but didn't really connect with the fact that they thought that, right? They thought it somewhere deep down inside. And then all of a sudden you say the same thing and they're like, oh, I agree with that. And then you're like, here's why. And they're like, oh, I thought that and I had no good reason for that, but this person thinks that and they do have a good reason for that. This has now created one, alignment, and two, maybe not full trust yet, but like the door opening to trust creation. And now the next time someone sees that pop up in their feed, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that. I agreed with those guys and they had really good facts about that. Maybe I'm going to read their blog. Thumbs up. Marketing win.
So thank you to the panel. Absolutely fantastic show. Thank you so much to the audience. I mean, what incredible interaction and comments. And it's lovely to get a perspective on all of what we talk about that isn't just us talking. And clearly the subject of AI and how it's driving sales and behaviors in business is something that the audience seem to be passionate about and eager to learn more about. So maybe in a future show we should do some conversations around how AI can help processes and what we've seen in terms of that, how you can build some success around using AI in terms of trying to streamline some of the processes and the activities that you need to undertake. So does anyone have anything that they would like to sum up with at the end?
I would just say, like, one of the things that I love about AI is that, again, I mentioned it earlier, it does show you the things you don't want to do, right? So like you mentioned, Adam, like the process, right? There's steps to a process, and there's steps in a process that we all like, and there's steps of a process that we don't all like. If we skip the steps, we might have a problem. And so if there are ways to look at that and say like, oh, I really love creating in this way, but I really don't like distributing in this way. Like, okay, so like create and then find an AI. There's so many automation systems and everything that can help with the distribution. Like looking at the parts of the process that make you feel like you're a participant versus the parts of the process that you feel like you're just like dragging through, and make it work for you. There's so many options, and like find something that works.
I would say it's the opposite. You should be striving for the opposite of garbage in, garbage out. If you put good stuff in, you'll probably get better stuff out.
And if you're not putting good stuff in, ask the question, why am I not putting good stuff in? What is good stuff?
And a comment here from Andrew, what is the best AI to use? Well, so far it would seem to be the one that's about to come out tomorrow. Because every day there are things that are changing. And I think that all of us have dabbled in multiple different platforms. And largely I find that some I prefer to others, but they all seem to be hampered with the same problems. AI is in many instances a very clever, but nonetheless, it is still a predictive text machine. And so it's only as good as the content that it has building that large language model.
You sound like the BBC.
You
sound like the BBC.
It doesn't
I just feel like we have to know what we want to use AI for, right? So like I run market focus groups, right? And when I run a focus group, I have different people on different days with different energy. And there's like a certain amount of that I can notice patterns within, but AI is a lot better at noticing patterns, overlapping different types of things. I use it for that. And I think it's super helpful. Whether you're if you know your why, you know what you're trying to achieve, and you can layer in an AI there that makes the output better, then I think that's great. But I think you have to start from what are we trying to do here? And then there's probably an AI for that. Fantastic.
So if you would potentially like to join us as a guest, please click the QR code in the corner. And thank you all again very much for being such a fantastic audience, and we've had a great time. So until next week, and we hope you will join us next week, it's goodbye from all of us on the panel. And
thanks, everybody.
Have a great weekend, everyone.